Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan.
I have been instructed, this is actually being videoed. I cannot go past this point or even much further left. So if someone sees me straying, they say, "You're straying." So please just tell me, because I'll want to stray. So the first thing I want to say is thank you. This is a really good turnout. I totally appreciate it. I didn't honestly know what to expect. I'm actually seeing a lot of faces that I had no idea were coming, and that really is heartening to me. The posters that I put out originally and the post that I put out said, "Recycling in La Veta, what you should know but probably don't." And then I got concerned for various reasons that all the people that concluded they already knew about recycling wouldn't come. Tim Chady, perfect example. and so I changed it. When the heck was that? I changed it. And in a way, this is a more blunt message. Recycling in La Veta is not guaranteed. And that is one of the messages that I want to give today. So, this is what I'm hoping to accomplish. Number one, I want to tell you at least 5 things that you don't already know. That's my challenge to me, and then you can give me feedback later if I met that goal or not. I want to clearly explain La Veta's investment in this program. There's history in it, and it's a fascinating story, and it's also a story that has some uncertainties and vulnerabilities in it. So I want to explain that. I want to clearly explain the challenges that are currently facing this program, and there are some challenges. So that's another one of my goals for today. I want to offer at some point different ways you can help. I want to offer guidance about what does and doesn't get recycled by this program, and that's in the handout that I left on the table at the top of the stairs. So that's the guidance, but there's some more specific things that I can say about that. I want to answer your questions. This is an important one for me because I will talk, I will speak and communicate a lot better if you have questions and simply ask them. You can, Reed.
Have you strayed?
Yeah, I missed practice today. No, it's honestly, here is okay. I've been instructed to stay behind here as much as possible.
Okay, because I thought it went to here. Well, excuse me for that.
No, it's not just this one spot, but thank you. And we'll try not to get off track from this point.
That means I have a question.
Yes, Chip.
I see you say to clearly explain twice, so that justifies me, I feel justified in asking this question. Recycling, what has been cycled the first time?
Chip, I want you to put that one on what we call the parking lot, and if I meet this goal, then you bring that up at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you. So, how did I get involved in this? I got involved in this quite accidentally. I was at a board meeting in 2022. Tim, were you on the board in 2022?
No, part of it, a little bit of it.
A little bit of it. This was July of 2022, and this was the scene at the Levita recycle bins. This was part of the scene. It got worse.
That's why I wasn't on the board, so that's why they had me.
It actually got worse. The residue, the stuff that was on the ground, actually continued to spread on to the left, including a box from a church in Trinidad full of hymnals. It was crazy. And so I went to, well, here's some more scenes. And so you saw one side of the bins, now you're seeing what's in between the bins. And it was incredible. And the town board was rightly concerned. And I was at a town board meeting while this was being addressed, and the town board was saying, maybe this program isn't for Levita. And part of the reason they were saying, well, there were three main reasons. One is the maintenance crew of Levita is not responsible for cleaning up messes like this. So there is no one in Levita whose job it is to clean up messes like this. Number two, people foolishly left their addresses on a lot of the boxes. And I would say a great percentage of the boxes on the ground were not from Levita residents. They were from Cuchara, they were from up Highway 160, they were from Navajo, they were from a variety of places, but and I mentioned Trinidad, the great percentage were not from Levita. And so the town was saying, this is for Levita residents, and Lori Irwin, the town clerk at that time, went over and put a laminated warning on each of the bins that said for Levita residents only, and a few people that didn't live in Levita got quite upset. And they got upset because they said, but we spend money in Levita. We do our business in Levita. Why can we not use these bins? Well, I'll get to the reasons why, and then I'll get to how we dealt with that. But so that was the second reason. The third reason the town board was concerned was that there was a suggestion that the truck driver was not in good health, and perhaps the truck driver wasn't long for this job. That turned out not to be true. And, but, so they were talking about possibly ending this program. And so at this board meeting, I got real concerned. And my concern was, we're gonna lose this thing. And we've had it for a long time, longer than I predict you can imagine. And so I started asking questions, and I asked one question, and that was, do you mind if I check into this? And the board said, go for it. So I said, well, who do I call? And I got a name. I got a name, Reva Phillips, and I got a phone number, and I got a name of the business. And let me ask a question at this point. Unless I have told you already, well, if I've told you this already, exclude yourself. How many folks in this room know what the recycling business is? Know who the recycling or what the recycling business is that services these bins? Raise your hand.
I know half of it.
You know half of it. Good.
I know a little bit.
The rest of you, I'm not seeing hands. So I actually was very much in the same position. I thought that this was a private business. And I thought that Veta was either allowing this private business to have ground where they could collect what turns out to be product and send it to destinations, or there was a contract between Veta and this business. So I called the business, called Reva Phillips, who is the administrator, and I find out that this is actually a nonprofit business, and it is an association of 13 Colorado counties who are all represented on the board of directors. And I said, is Huerfano County represented? And she said no, but she said, I don't think Huerfano County is the one that's doing it. So I started inquiring in Huerfano County. Who knows about recycling in Huerfano County? I started asking officials. No one knew. No one knew. I started asking people in Walsenburg. There had been bins in Walsenburg.
Yeah.
There still are theoretically bins in Walsenburg. No one knew. No one knew. The town board in Veta was of the opinion that Walsenburg had dropped out of the program. And so I said, so how do you get represented? How do you get on this board? And she said, well, your elected body has to request someone to be on the board. Now, typically, that's an elected official. In almost all the counties, it is an elected official who represents that entity on the board of directors. And in the case of Veta did not know that they were entitled to representation. So we had no representation, and therefore we had no way of efficiently contacting the association in a way that made the system work better. So I went back to the board and I said to the board what I found out, and they said, what do we need to do? And I said, well, you need to send in a letter requesting, and then they'll approve it, and then you'll appoint someone. And they said, okay, who do we send it to? I gave them the address. Then they said, would you do it? And so I said, sure. I had stepped in that far. There was no point in saying no. I mean, what would the point be? And so I ended up, it was in late summer of 2022 that I was appointed by Veta to the board of directors. And the first meeting I attended, we have quarterly meetings. The first meeting I attended was October of 2022. And I didn't know where to go, so I was remote by phone, which worked horribly. I heard voices in the background. I had no idea who was who and who was talking. So when we had our next board meeting in January, I started going to quarterly meetings, and I've been going to quarterly meetings ever since. But things also really started changing quickly. And this was not what I expected. I expected to get on a board and do my part and represent the association to Veta, represent Veta to the association. Well, Reva Phillips, who had been involved with the program, the association, since its inception in 1992, and for the past 8 years in 2022 had been the administrator over the whole program, at an incredibly low rate of pay of about $750 a month, said, I am toast. And I have got to retire and I've got to live my life, because she was all in and she was tired. So she said, I will be resigning in January. So I got on the board in October. The administrator is going to resign in January, and we needed to find a new administrator. Second thing that changed was the chairperson of the board was a guy from one of the 2 counties in Kansas that are represented in this association. So there are 13 counties in Colorado and 2 counties in Kansas. The Kansas guy was the chairperson of the board. And he said at the January meeting, we rely a bit on grants. We rely on grants in fair measure. And it doesn't make much sense for a guy from Kansas to be signing off on grants that are Colorado based. And so he said, I suggest that we have a new chairperson. And he said, who's interested? And guess what? No one was interested. So I said, I'll do it. How hard could it be? I said to him, what do I have to do? He said, all you have to do is just keep the meeting going. That's all you have to do. And so I said, then I'll do it. So I look at Robert's Rules of Order and just so that I don't make any serious mistakes. And that's the extent of my concern at this point. And well, it's turned out to be a lot more. So let's see where we're at in this. So here I am. Well, first of all, you still don't know the name of this organization. So this is the facility. This is where all the recycling goes. And it has the lovely acronym SE and ECRA. Whoever came up with that acronym wasn't having a good day. And it stands for Southeast and East Central Recycling Association. This used to be an ice cream manufacturing facility. It really is a pretty lovely building. It's all brick. It's located in Las Animas, Colorado, in Bent County, very close to Bent's Fort. In 1992, a gentleman by the name, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, but I'm going to say it's Ray Leverrier. Ray Leverrier was an official in Prowers County who got wind of a pilot program in Colorado it was going to be a 2-year pilot program to start recycling in rural communities. Alamosa was one of the ones chosen, and there was significant grant money to get it started. I think the grant money to get it started was somewhere in the neighborhood of a little over $100,000 to get it started. So this Ray Leverrier started organizing this thing, and Ray was really the guy that made this happen. So Veta became one of the places that was part of the pilot program in 1992. Doug Burgosh, Mayor Burgosh, signed off on the agreement to be part of the pilot program. The pilot program was successful, and in 1994, the business it went from pilot program to actual incorporated nonprofit business. And at that at that point, so there were 8 counties part of the pilot program. When it began in '94, it was 13 counties. So it went from 8 to 13, and again in 1994, Mayor Doug Burgosh signed off on the first intergovernmental agreement between SECRA and Veta, an official agreement. I have a copy of it if anyone's interested in seeing it. So let me show you a little bit about the area that SECRA serves. So we have, this is oftentimes the regions in which Colorado is conceived of. And so we have the Front Range area, we have the Eastern Plains, we've got the mountains, and then we've got the Western Slope. Everything that is in orange is a county that in Colorado that's involved in this association. So if you can't read it, you got, well, and here's Veta right here in Huerfano County. And here's the facility in Las Animas. So we've got Huerfano, Las Animas, Baca, Prowers, Bent, Otero, Crowley, Kiowa, Cheyenne, Lincoln, Kit Carson, Elbert, the only one in the Front Range, and Yuma County. And I guess I lost my train of thought on what I was going to say about that. We've got the 2 counties that aren't on there from Kansas, but otherwise all of those are, I know what it was, they're all rural counties, and that was the reason for the program in the first place, because urban areas had access to recycling that was already happening in Colorado. And rural counties have a real problem. I wish Bob Kennemer was here, because when Bob Kennemer was on the board of trustees in Veta, we had a town dump up at the top of the hill. And Walsenburg had a town dump out near where the prison and the recycling or the waste transfer station is. And both of those were shut down because they didn't meet health department regulations and environmental standards. And so this is what's happening across the rural areas of Colorado, is all of these counties have relied on landfills. And the landfills are either getting filled to the point where they can't be used any longer, or they can't meet the regulations from the Colorado Department of Health. And so they have a problem. And the problem is, what do we do with our waste? So suddenly recycling becomes a very pragmatic decision. And when I've talked with fellow directors on the board, I don't think you'll find many environmentalists among them. They're pragmatists, and they are in this because they are trying to manage their counties. That's why they're in this. And they're committed to it because they have to be. If they've got a problem if this doesn't work. Now I want, yes, Chip.
Do you have an idea of the nature of recycling in the areas that are not marked yellow?
Well, throughout the rest of Colorado?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I know what's going on there.
No, I know Pueblo, I know Alamosa. You know Alamosa. You know Pueblo. I know a little bit about Colorado Springs. I know Denver does curbside pickup. They have, like, on recycle day, there's like 2 or 3 bins that each house has for different materials. So Denver's got it going. In Pueblo, on the south side of Pueblo, there's a business called Roots Recycling, and they now are doing curbside pickup in Pueblo. But my guess is that it's certainly a subscription service, much like we do mountain disposal in La Veta. Yeah.
How many trucks cover this?
Well, thank you for asking. That's a great question. Let's see.
How many trucks?
So, again, we have, here's La Veta, here's Los Animas, and all of these which approach the number 40 are the stops, the pickup locations that one truck and one truck driver makes. So one of the things that often is communicated to me is, why doesn't the truck come more frequently? Why doesn't the truck pick up stuff? The bins are overflowing. And part of the answer is right there. That's what one truck driver has to cover. Now, I will tell you that La Veta has, I would say, in the top 2 or 3 by volume. How do I want to say this? What we gather in terms of material in those bins by volume is in the top 2 or 3 in the whole association. I will also tell you, even though this isn't the point, that we maintain our bins better than most. And I think that's a credit to many people that use it appropriately. Not all, and we'll get to that, but again, the truck driver is actually instructed, your job is not to clean up messes. Your job is to empty the bins into your truck and take it to the facility. So that's what he has to cover. So one of the things that I've been encouraging directors to do, and I do, is when the bin is full, when the bins are full, like cardboard fills up. 2 days ago, the aluminum was overflowing. And I called, his name is Clarence, I called Clarence, and I said, FYI, the aluminum bins are full. He texts back, thank you. He got it done today. 2 weeks ago, I texted him, the cardboard is full. He said, I'll be there tomorrow. And this is what he needs from every director, from every community, because otherwise, if they have nothing in there, he's wasting a trip. Although a lot of those trips you can see are routes, and so he can make a lot of stops on one trip. So, any questions about this before I leave this slide? Okay. So, here's the front side of this humble building. Here's the inside. And what you have, this actually, when I took this picture, it's oftentimes a lot more full with product. They had just loaded up and done some shipments. So it's relatively empty on this day. Over here, if you can see the pointer, this is actually a conveyor belt. And Jace Gerhardt, the facility manager, a first-rate guy, his team is up on benches, and as product is going through this conveyor belt, they are sorting. They are pulling out things that are not supposed to be in there, and they're discarding them. And then there are items that go up into here, and this is a baler. And so when it gets baled, You get things like that. And those are bales of aluminum cans. Yes?
I have a question. So when he comes and does that route, is he only picking up one kind of product? Can he pick up multiple kinds of products in his truck?
So, I think at most he can pick up 2 different products. An example would be cardboard and paper. Or an example would be aluminum cans and glass. But he can't pick it all up.
And he has to keep the glass separate, I assume, since we're
Right,
separated.
so exactly, because
So he has to make multiple trips
right.
to cover the variety of products.
And I think he gets to Veta, my guess is he gets to Veta about once a week, but he doesn't pick up everything once a week.
Sure.
Cardboard bales. You can see that the cardboard is a mixture of materials, and one thing I've learned is that cardboard technically is not corrugated, what we call cardboard. It is pressed paperboard, and pressed paperboard actually has a higher price on the market than corrugated. But we've got an abundance of corrugated right now, and it all gets bundled, it goes to the destination, and at the destination, I assume that it's separated, and then we get payment for which is which. I'm just speculating now, because honestly, I don't know how they do that. But you can see it is combined.
Do you know where it goes?
Well, there are different destinations. So different products have different destinations. Glass used to go to Coors. Coors was very good about both taking it and immediately paying for it. Then they merged with Molson's, and now we are too small for them to pay. So we're sitting on a whole lot of crushed glass until we get payment for the glass we've already delivered. So it's one of the jobs that the administrator really has to take on is making sure that payments are received. So when I said this is not a guarantee at the beginning, really what I'm talking about are challenges. And so number one, dollars, money. Money is right now perhaps our biggest challenge. Revenue comes through 3 sources. One is grant writing, which at times is good and available, at times is not so good. For instance, we get a glass rebate from Colorado. Last year, I think it was in the neighborhood of $60,000. This year is $20,000. That's a pretty significant difference. So grants is one of the ways. Another way is the product itself. The destination pays the association for what we deliver. Jace Gerhardt, the facility manager, is particularly good at reading the market, much like he was playing the stock market. And he will hold on to product like those bales of aluminum until it reaches the price that he thinks it should, or until it reaches a quantity that fills the truck, so he's not paying a truck driver to take a half load. So he really manages when to send product. So product is the second way we make money. And the third, I think, is maybe the most significant right now, and that is that every community that's served, it may be the county, it may be a town like Veta, pays a per capita fee to the association. Now, when this program first started, the per capita fee, I believe, was 8 cents per person per month. So over a year, that would be what, 96 cents per person per year? Well, it's had to go up over time, and for the last, I think the last 6 years or so, it has been 20 cents per person per year. And we knew that it was going to go up, it had to go up. We just didn't know how much it would have to go up, and I'll explain why in a minute. But in 2025, it will go up 50% of that, up to 30 cents per person per month in La Veta. So figure out the yeah.
Is that based on the census?
That's a really good question, and I don't have a good answer. I'm not sure what else it would be based on. I know that La Veta's population changes, but how we keep track of that, I'm not sure. Walsenburg right now is listed at 3,100. We're listed at something like 810. I'm not sure if that's up to date. So it must be the census, but I can't honestly tell you I know.
So could you, I know the budget used to be 1,800 a year.
Right.
So what is it now? Or what will it be in
Well,
2025?
so
Do the math.
in this year, it's been 1,800.
Still.
Now the board, anticipating a fee increase, put in their budget for this year. I thought it was 2,000. I've been told it was 3,000, but it was put into the budget and we didn't raise it. So La Veta didn't have to spend all of that line item in the budget. So if I do the math, and let's say it was 1,800 this year, and it's going up 50%, then it's going to be around 2,700 in 2025. I think I did the math right.
It's worth it.
Well, my goodness, and this was one of my goals for today, is how valuable is this program to us? I know it's valuable to me. I would miss it dearly if we didn't have it, and I know that there is a lot of taking for granted that this program will be here, like it's somehow part of what we're entitled to. But we actually are the program. We are the program. And when we, in all of those communities, fail in some way to keep the program going, the program goes away. That's the way it works. So anyway, Marilyn, that's what I believe it will be in 2025, is about 2,700. Yeah.
So what percentage of your overall revenue do the fees account for?
That's a question I'm not prepared to answer. I will tell you, we're about to get into some more of what the challenges are, but things have changed, and the organization right now is running at a deficit. We are in a hole. And let me move on, and maybe some of that, I can actually go over the financials with you and show you that. I will tell you that it's probably not much more than a third, but don't guarantee that. But I would love to show you the papers. And I actually have them with me today, so we can look at them. So, costs. Fuel has increased. So what we were anticipating, what we budgeted for, didn't account for the increase in fuel that's happened. Oh, let me back off. Another cost, insurance for some reason has decided that recycling facilities need to be charged at a much higher rate. So our insurance jumped, I would say our insurance jumped to 100% this year. It was an incredible increase that we didn't see come. And a third cost, when Reva Phillips resigned in January of 2023, we put out invitations for application and only got in one. And this was on a recommendation of a Prowers County commissioner. And this person turned out to be a disaster. And while we were trying to assess how significant the disaster was and offer remediation, she wasn't getting us information. So we did not actually know where we were at in 2023. We kept getting promised things and we never got it. And so I think I actually at this point am gonna say that in early 2024, we basically laid down some very serious expectations and she chose to resign. And so Reva Phillips has been working for free as the administrator for the last 6 months. However, she said, once again, in case we forgot from the first time, I am toast. And not only is she burned out, but she was working for free. And so she is, she just did, well, she's turning it over in August. What we've done, one of the ways we've tried to handle our situation is we've divided the administrator position into 2 positions. One position now is run by the facility manager, Jace Gerhardt, who will now oversee everything that has to do with on-site work, including the truck driver. So he'll be managing routes. The other will have to do with finances, keeping the books. What Reva's been doing for the last 6 months is tracking down what happened to money. And she's got it pretty well figured out. But that's what she's been doing. So we have now hired a new financial person, and I'd like to introduce her, Laura Smith. Do you want to stand? So Laura will be working on the financial parts. Jace will be working on the facility and on-site parts. And at some point there will be interaction because there has to be. And so that is what we've done. We've restructured things. That's one thing we've done. We've raised the per capita. That's another thing we've done. We're looking for grant opportunities wherever we can find them. Let's see what I've got next. Another challenge, the nature of the board of directors. As I said, most of the board of directors represent elected officials. Elected officials change. So when an elected official leaves office, for whatever reason, if there isn't a process to pass the torch, then oftentimes that county goes unrepresented. If counties are unrepresented, then we've got a problem in terms of a healthy functioning board of directors. So one of the things we're really going to work at is that transition process, because there has to be a transition process. There are two directors that aren't elected officials. I'm one of them. The guy from Kansas is the other. So just the uncertainty of the board of directors, who are all there free, working for their counties, that is one of our vulnerabilities, one of our challenges. One truck and one truck driver, we've talked about that. Abuse and misuse of the bins. This is a real problem, because if stuff goes into the bins that shouldn't be in the bins, that makes the facilities job a lot harder, makes their work take a lot longer. It makes the truck driver's job harder. So having, and actually by contract, by intergovernmental agreement, it is the community who's responsible for maintaining the grounds. Not the truck driver, not the association. So do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts are on that handout I gave. One thing I do want to mention that I didn't get onto that do's and don'ts handout is the paper bins. One of the paper bins says newspaper, magazines, office paper, I think is the third one. Is that what it said, the third one?
Yeah.
And the other two say newsprint. So one of them fills up real fast and the other two remain empty. That is a mistake on our part. That sign should be on all three. You may put any of those acceptable paper items into any of those three bins. Okay. You may have questions about, I'm close. I'm close. I still want to meet my goal. So, you may have questions from looking at your handout about particular items, but I tried to get very specific with Jace about what is okay to go in and what is not okay to go in. And he got very clear about it. The cardboard one in particular is worth reading. So, our own place. We still have our problems. This is one example. Would anyone like to guess what that is?
TV box.
You said it was a toilet paper.
Well,
You said, but you
I
told
told her the answer. She's not supposed to. Okay, so here's what I figured. I figure a guy just was not in the mood to break down his big cardboard box. So he left his cardboard box outside the bin. Well, that is not it. He replaced his toilet. He put the old toilet in the box and sealed it up and left it outside the cardboard. Left it outside the bins. Not ever asking who is going to take care of this. It's the question itself has an evident answer. No one is.
Is his name on
No, and believe me, I looked. And I looked, and I could not find a name.
So who got a new toilet in town?
Can't the grapevine give us his info?
Yeah, I think we probably, this actually was a few months ago, so maybe some other people have got new toilets. But at any rate, one of the things back in 2022 that we were considering is actually publishing names, because we had a lot of names. And then we thought maybe that wouldn't be the right way to do it, so we didn't do it. But I have
New England
names.
and it works.
What's that?
I'm from New England and the pillory does work.
Yeah, well, I wish,
I send messages.
I wish you were still on the board, Marilyn, maybe we'd be publishing names, but I've got names. I still have all the names. That's the back of my pickup truck. I pulled that all out of the cardboard bin. This happens all the time. People will not break down and flatten their cardboard. They will squeeze. I'm amazed at some of the things that get squeezed and then resume their former shape. And if, I don't know, when I see people actually breaking down their cardboard, flattening and putting in, I always go over and thank them because they are, think about it, one truck driver, all those routes, if people are putting their boxes in like that, how much faster does the cardboard fill up? And that's what's happening, is the cardboard's filling up way too fast. And it's because people are just putting in unflattened cardboard. Yeah.
Can I also say that people are also putting in flattened cardboard, but they're so big that because of the design, interior design of these, they get hung up.
Right.
So half of that bin can no longer accept cardboard because of how something was put in.
So one of the things I'm going to get to, and maybe I'll jump ahead, is if people want to help, how can they help? Well, I carry a long stick with me.
Yeah.
And when I find that, I get in there and I start shifting cardboard around so that it lies flat. But you're right, the other day there was one at an angle that was just taking up like a good third of the space.
Unless you look threatening.
But it's also true of the cans.
Yeah.
I carry a broom with me.
Yeah, and
And
so.
I rearrange the cans and you get another 20%.
Exactly, and so a little secret, that westernmost can has a top lid. It's the only one with a top lid, and you'll often see that little hatch just like filled with cans. I open the top lid, push all the cans to the back, and now we've got more room for cans. So that's another thing you can do.
And don't put the cans in plastic bags.
Yeah, and I don't know if I put that on the do's and don'ts. There's only one case where a plastic bag should ever go into a bin, and that's if it's holding shredded paper.
Oh, they really take that?
They take shredded paper, but it has to be securely in a bag. So, I've got to make haste here. Here we have what are known as aseptic containers. They are recyclable in some locations, but not this association. And the reason why is because they have an aseptic coating that is not recyclable by the destination markets that we use. So you cannot put these kinds of containers in the recycle bins. I pulled these out of the cardboard bins one day. Why someone thought that was okay, I just don't know. I doubt that they thought it was okay. Over here, this box really doesn't do justice to what I found. There were actually 3 or 4 boxes, and it included styrofoam, bubble wrap, plastic wrap, soft foam, and there was one other item in there that I'm forgetting, but squishy foam. So I do have that fella's name. I don't have an address. He lives out on Highway 12 on the straightaway, just off the straightaway.
Let's call him right now.
And I'm reluctant to mention his name because I haven't decided what I'm going to do about him. But The post office wouldn't tell me if he had a PO box or not, they can't do that.
You know what you can do? Put a stamp on an envelope with his name and with Veta, and they'll put it in his box.
He did, but I don't think, the way I read the Trish was, he probably doesn't have a box, but I can't tell you that. Yeah,
Why not plastics?
well, because we have not, one of the things with plastics is where does it go? Where's the destination? And to have a convenient destination market, we have to pay shipping. I asked Alamosa where they send their plastic, and they said somewhere out east. Not even in the area. The reason why Pueblo Recycle Works doesn't do plastic anymore is because they were taking all their plastic to Roots Recycling, and they weren't paying a fee for it. And Roots Recycling wanted a fee, so no longer can Pueblo take plastic. We do not have a convenient destination for plastic.
So what do we throw away more than anything else?
Plastic.
What are we sitting on?
Good science with her.
Plastics everywhere.
I know.
Yeah,
If we don't do something, well, hey, Mother Earth is crying.
yeah,
She's
no,
crying.
you're absolutely right. And let me, Mickey was gonna say, is there any reason for hope? and thank
Words
thank-
from my mouth.
Thank you, Mickey. Colorado is taking incremental steps towards solving this problem. Right now, we are in year 2 of a legislative plan called the Producer Responsibility Act. And by 2026, any producer bringing above a certain revenue level, bringing product into Colorado or selling product in Colorado that is packaged, no matter what the material, has to pay a fee. And that fee is going to go towards the long-term goal of providing curbside recycling in every community in Colorado. Now that seems awfully ambitious to me. And I think the fee is going to have to end up being a lot higher than it is, but they think there's a contractor that's implementing this plan, and we have to wait another year and a half before those fees start getting paid. But you look at online and all the major corporations are listed. They're all on the board of directors of this, and they're gonna have to pay.
They better kick back.
Yeah. By the way, the reason why I've got all this up here, I'm not as messy as I look, although awfully close to it. I pulled these out of the cans yesterday as I was shifting cans around. Aerosol can. You can recycle an empty aerosol can. That can go into the cans. Yeah, so a little bit of good news. One thing I do, what's that? If you pull the plastic off, it'd save them from doing it. But if you don't, they'll do it at the recycling.
Old bear spray?
I said, what about spray paint?
No.
Yeah. So if it's an empty spray paint can, they will take it. That surprised me. I feed feral cats. What I do is as I have the lids, I do this, and I once asked Jace, is that okay? And he said, you're the only guy that does it. We always know whose cat but then he said it actually is preferable because these lids get stuck in the conveyor belt. So if you are doing something with cans and you have lids, this is not a bad solution. And then and it also takes up less space. So,
I have
So
a
solve the
question
debate on
about
crush
that.
cans.
what's that? Say it again.
The debate on crush cans. Do you crush cans or not crush cans?
I don't have your strength, Tim. I would suggest
Same
that if we crushed our aluminum cans or any of those cans, like even took out the bottom and flattened it, we'd only be helping. Which again is a way to help. I've already violated one of my goals. Let's see where we're at. Oh, I just threw this in. This is the way the truck works. There's a crane that lifts up the bin. The bottom of the bin opens. All of the content drops into the bin, to the container. Then he puts it back on the ground. He's over here with a remote control operating it. It's fascinating. So perhaps you'd like to help to keep this going. What can you do? I would say, number one, I've given you some suggestions already. Help manage the site. If you see something wrong, you can let me know. I'll contact the truck driver. Number two, if you see someone like squeezing unflattened cardboard in, say, hey, we only have one truck. Just say something if you're up to it. I mean, or tell someone when they're doing it right. Thank you. I see you're doing it right. A third.
I have a suggestion. Instead of telling them that, say, can I help you to flatten it? It will save,
I like that.
so that we're actually offering something.
I like
rather
that.
than-
I like that. I'm gonna wrap up real quickly here, because I know I've violated my 6 o'clock goal. This all started in 2022 when we realized that a lot of abuse of the bins was happening from out of town. And so I met with residents in Kuchara who felt like, hey, we should be able to use this. They even offered to pay the town of Veta for the right to use it. For various reasons, the town board, and reasons I understand, declined that offer. However, we are a nonprofit 501c3, and you can make tax deductible donations. So I am now in the process of talking to people in Kuchara. I will be meeting, hopefully, with some people in other communities that use the bins, but are not being charged like La Veta residents are being charged. So if you're interested, I do have one additional handout, and this is the tax deductible information about making donations to this association. And I would say that the takeaway from this is there's no guarantee that this continues, but it can continue, and it can continue if we do things right, and if every community does things right. And if people that have the means and want to make a donation do so, that will make an incredible difference. So if you know of anyone, or if you'd like to take one of these yourself, please come up and help yourself. Let's see how I did. Is there anyone here that didn't learn 5 new things today? Good. Did I clearly explain our investment, La Veta's investment in this program? 1992. The challenges facing us. Different ways you can help. If anyone would like to partner with me, I don't know how long I can do this. I won't be the only person ever doing this, I know that. So if you're interested in partnering with me, and that's what the tablet's for. If you're interested in knowing more, that you can put your contact information on the tablet on the table there. I hopefully offered some guidance about what does and doesn't get recycled. If you have more questions, I'm going to be here. I'm not in a rush. Feel free to stick around and ask questions. But I promised 6 and I'm 5 minutes over, so I violated my last one.
One thing I'd like to say that you did for me was help me make this a great date night for